something really good, a hot topic in the news this week. He's been charged with crime. This is a show where I try to educate real stories. Thanks for watching Truth and Justice with Vivian King, where I try to educate you about the criminal justice system through stories. I've been doing this a long time now, and I'm excited to jump right into it with my guest tonight, Mr. Kyle Mathews, who was formerly incarcerated. He's overcome prison. I want to talk about his journey, his struggles, and how far he's come in his reformation, I guess you could say. And Danny tonight is going to co-host. Danny Sneed, returning citizen, someone I'm very proud of and glad to call my friend. All right, let's talk to you, Kyle. Tell me about yourself. Tell me how you grew up and basically how you started a life of crime. Where did it start? I always try to figure out where it started for people. You know, and you know what my poll over all these years, after 30 years of being in criminal law, has taught me that it started for most people in middle school. But that's some people like Danny didn't start till they were in their late 20s.
I was in prison at 28.
28. I knew it was 28. I wasn't going to say 28, but I knew it was 28 after his Army stint. But, you know, that was the 80s and that was the crack cocaine era. So tell me about you.
Well, first of all, thank both of you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for traveling to get here and fighting traffic. You know, people don't realize how big Houston, Harris County is.
Yes, ma'am.
It's huge. So thank you for fighting the traffic.
So my name, well, we know my name.
Yes,
I'm Kyle Mathews. I was born in Saginaw, Michigan, small city about 75 miles north of Detroit. So Saginaw is really a ghetto posing as a city. Very low income. It was part of the industrial flight of the 70s and 80s. So when a lot of the factories and industry closed down.
And, you know, you can look at the camera too if you
okay.
like. That might help you. But you can look at me too.
Yeah.
Industrial flight. I never heard that term. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So I grew up in a two-parent home. My mother, Barbara, my father, Charles. And I had pretty much a normal childhood. I didn't know what was going on in the world around me growing up, just playing in the yard, playing outside with my friends, going to school. So at 7, my parents got divorced and my mother decided to move us to Texas. So on the surface, it wasn't traumatic that I could think of, but as time went on, I developed behavior patterns that really shook me up that I didn't know how to deal with at the time. So we moved to Houston. We got here right as Hurricane Alicia was going on. So we had to live with my aunt. My mother's sister was here with her family. We lived with them for a few months before my mother got us an apartment because she was a teacher, a school teacher. So she started at Aldine. I went to a school I forgot the name of the elementary school. So I went there for a time. My mother saved up. She got a house in A-Leaf.
Were you the only child?
At the time that I knew of.
Ooh.
So I'm my mother's only child, yes.
Okay, got it.
So during the early years that we moved to Houston, my mother always made sure that I stayed in touch with my father. You know, I had a strong relationship with him. So we've always been great. But we moved to A-Leaf. I do remember I went to Cummings Elementary.
Okay.
That's where I met my best friend to this day. So crime really wasn't a thing yet. So, you know, we do what little kids do, elementary school kids do. We go to school, we play, and we go home. Mm-hmm. So, and you were right about your previous statement. Around middle school, I started wanting things. So I was encouraged, cut yards around the neighborhood, which I did. But when that slowed down, I still wanted things. So I graduated to going to the little corner stores, stealing candy, stealing whatever, and going to other stores, getting the toys, things like that. So in the 6th grade, I really started having behavioral issues at home. I was just acting out for some reason. Some people call it puberty or just adolescent rebellion behavior. So I always liked to play football. That was my thing. So my mother encouraged that. She always kept me in little leagues, kept me involved in different sports. My 7th grade year was a complete disaster. I was just in school. Wasn't necessarily putting forth my best effort. I was just there. I did just enough to stay eligible to play sports, and then after that, I'm done. So in between, before then, in the 7th grade, it just started picking up because at this time, Houston wasn't really a gang city. But during this time in the mid to late 80s, they're coming. So you didn't have the big name gangs yet. You had little cliques here and there that you'd see. Some of your friends wind up in it. You hang around. Hey, you want to get in? Nah.
And cocaine was starting to kick off, right?
It was already in full flight, but it hadn't made it to that part of Houston full-fledged yet. So this is about like 1988, 87, 88. So we're still kind of away from the crack epidemic and the shootings and things like that.
Because you're in the suburbs.
Basically, it was the suburbs back then.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. But there was always an undercurrent out there of something can go wrong because, like I said, you didn't have the big gangs yet, but the older kids were making what we call cliques. So there were like, over here in this neighborhood, this is who we are. Over here, this is who we are. Over there, this is who we are. And it got progressively, if you had a friend over here you want to go play with, you might have to fight when you're over there. So you might go over here, fight, play, go over there, fight, play, on the way back home, fight, go home.
Well, at least y'all were fighting without guns.
True.
Because now these kids won't even fight each other. I know, I keep, in the
Grown
work I
folks
do,
either, though.
I'm always saying, why don't people just have fights like they used to, especially in school, and then, a couple of weeks later, you can kind of be friends if you learned how to manage, your anger or whatever, but now people shoot each other.
But when you're fighting over and over, there's a certain level of viciousness that starts to increase.
Okay, then the violence.
So now, right, so now it becomes, how bad can you beat this person up?
Ooh.
So instead of just being a one and done, now, okay.
A done.
Right, everybody wants revenge. It's one thing to lose a fight, but when you get embarrassed and then you're getting teased about it, that's
Now
when
you
things
gotta-
escalate.
To get back.
Right.
Got to do the get back.
So 7th grade, I was in and out of the principal's office. My mother was teaching at Elsick High School, so she had to constantly come to the middle school. What are you doing? Why are you doing this? I don't know. I'm just doing.
Did she believe in beating your butt?
Until I got bigger. She
Yeah,
tried.
You kind of big.
So
I think I'd still try to beat your ass. So if it was me, I think I'd try. We'd probably have to have a fight.
I just want to interject this right quick. Of course, his story sounds like he's cheating, like he read my story. But my grandson, I'm thinking about my 11-year-old grandson. He's 12 now. It's the exact same thing I see going on in his life.
Is he in town or in Texas City?
Texas County. He's struggling, but I realized the last time I had him that a lot of it wasn't on him. I realized he's unaware. He wants to be a good kid. And he finds himself in this situation, and when your mother asks you why, your response was if I knew that, you know what I'm saying? I wouldn't even keep going to the principal office.
But at that time, in your 7th grade mind, didn't you realize you had a choice and that you were breaking your mother's heart? No.
We know, but we don't know.
Okay. All right. Keep on with the story.
So at this time, she met a man who happened to be my barber. So they developed a relationship. So it just seemed like really fast he moved in with us. So there's another traumatic event in my mind. So it just went from me, my mom, and the dog to me, my mom, Mr. Leon, and his 2 dogs.
Not Mr. Leon.
Not Mr. Leon.
Mr. Leon coming
Mr. Leon moved on
the
in.
enforcer.
He saw that cutie pie. He was like,
Mr. Leon come in with some structure.
Uh-oh.
So he was.
But that's a difficult age for Mr. Leon to move in middle school. Yeah.
Right.
Because you're not trying to listen to him.
Well,
Your mama realized that she needed some testosterone in that house.
Right, exactly. So we got along fine, but I didn't define until later in life that he had PTSD really bad. He fought in Vietnam and was injured.
Ooh.
So
Yeah,
he
those
had
people
some
kinda
things
crazy. Yeah, they want to fight too.
he had to deal with.
His mental health.
Right,
He had some demons.
right. So the 3 of us had fights.
The 3.
His mama too. Her mama jumping. Jumping
well,
in. She from Saginaw.
Most of the time, they'd be fighting, and I got in it.
No, he wouldn't be fighting your mother. You mean fussing. You don't mean physically.
No, fighting.
Okay. Was she fighting back?
She tried.
Oh,
Yeah,
mama.
you know, she didn't. She was
wasn't no
she was a
punk, huh?
warrior. No.
Okay, I know.
But
I like that. You had to jump in.
I had to,
Yeah,
and
you
that
gotta
was just
jump in.
that was just natural.
Yeah, you got to jump in.
So now we both lose, but at the
you and your
same
mama
time,
both losing.
I mean,
Cause you ready to cut him? I know.
this is a. I'll get to that.
Uh-oh.
This is a man trained by the United States.
I wanted to cut somebody too, so I can understand that.
This is a man trained by the United States to kill.
Right.
So I can fight kids. You know, fighting a grown man is
That's a totally different animal.
Yeah,
Different
Mr.
thing.
Leon bringing something else to the table.
He bringing the army with him, the full
Federal
force of the
government
federal
training.
government training. At 18, he got trained.
right. So like I say, he was loving and nurturing
Until
and
he
offered
went off.
structure until something set him off. And I didn't know how to deal with that. My mother didn't know how to deal with that.
Those are some hard men to marry. My sister married a man like that. I'm from San Antonio, where all those Army and Air Force bases are. So I watched them grow up.
Wow.
So I watched a lot. My sister married a guy with that PTSD, shell shock. They could be sitting there, hear something on TV, and they go off. So keep going though.
It's real. So my behavior just got totally out of control over the summer in between 7th and 8th grade. So my mother made a decision, you're going to go live with your dad. So
she was gonna stay there and keep fighting with that man. Lord have mercy.
pretty much. So she packed me up and sent me back to Saginaw where my father and my stepmother were living. So by this time, they had made some career moves and they kind of upgraded themselves. So they lived close to the outskirts of Saginaw. So that's where I was going to go to school. So the friends I had previous, they went to another school. So I had to make a whole new set of friends, which has never been a problem for me. But I get there, I've came back with a Texas accent. So I was getting needled mercilessly. Country. It's not. So my thing was, no, okay, keep on, because I very rarely start a fight. But when I get fed up, when the rope snags, it's over with. So I got in a few scuffles, and you know, when your dad is in your corner, he's in your corner. So he didn't really trip about me fighting in school if it was basically for a just cause, because he knew I'm pretty peaceful, unless otherwise. So, but I was not enjoying myself up there. They didn't have the athletic program that I wanted to participate in. They're more into basketball. I like football. So now he was a stickler for the grades. I couldn't slack with that. You know, and you'd think it'd be the other way around when you have a mother who's a teacher. But I got my grades together, but I knew I couldn't stay. So I begged and pleaded, let me go back to Houston. I'm straighten up. All right. Come back to school, 9th grade. Well, come back to Houston for the 9th grade. Now, my mother teaches at Elsick High School, which is here. A-Leaf Hastings High School is right here. There's 4,000 students over here at Elsick. There's about 3,800 students right here at Hastings. You have all of this right here. And this school is humongous. I had seen it riding by, but I'd never been in it. So when I enrolled and started walking around, it's like I was on Jupiter. Like, wow. Because again, I had missed an entire year with my friends, and they've made new friends and kind of moved on. So now I'm almost like a fish out of water. I just didn't feel in place until I found the football team. So play football, go to school. I reverted back to some old educational ways. I do just enough to stay eligible. Because one thing about me growing up, as my mother being an administrator, I read a lot. So a lot of things in school really bored me because in my mind, I knew it already. So what are we going through the motions for to do that? So that led to altercations with teachers. You know, you're not putting forth your best effort. And to me, I was like, I don't see the point. Why are we doing this? How is this going to serve later on in life? So start getting into altercations because now some of the bigger name gangs that people hear about, can I say their name?
Sure.
Black Disciples showed up. Crips showed up. Bloods showed up. Latin King showed up. So now people are really clicking up. You can literally see the entire community changing before your very eyes. Because now, in 1990, crack has made it to A-Leaf. And with it, the violence came too.
In a big way, in a huge way.
In a huge way. So A-Leaf was always looked upon as, you know, a suburb where you could get away from and live a decent life. That was no more. So there were plenty of days I'd go to school, fighting going in, fighting during, fighting coming out, then go to football practice, and then go home. So when this is an everyday thing, it becomes normalized, which is abnormal. Children shouldn't have to literally fight to get in the school and fight to get out of it, because how are you going to focus while you're in there?
Right.
So 9th grade just went by, played ball, went to class, went to 10th grade. Now a lot of my friends are in these different gangs. So I didn't necessarily choose one at the time because, okay, y'all are still my friends. Y'all are battling each other, so y'all go ahead and do that. But when it's time to hang out, we're going to hang out. Right before school started, my mother moved to the other side of Southwest Houston. Inside the loop is what she called it. I didn't understand what that was. Inside, we're still in Houston. But we moved over by Westbury High School. I didn't know anybody over there. Now, the difference between this neighborhood and A-Leaf, kids came outside in A-Leaf. They didn't come outside over here. I used to walk to the park, walk around the neighborhood. There's just nobody outside. So now I'm trying to figure out ways, how do I get to A-Leaf? Because back then in the early 90s, the bus routes didn't run like they run now. You can get anywhere. You can get close to your destination, and then you're going to do a lot of walking to get the rest of the way. So that led to me always being late to come home at the designated time. Because if the bus stops running at 5 over there, I got to walk. And back then, it's pay phones and the end of the rotary phones.
Right.
So I didn't always have money to call and like, I'm going to be late. So I had to deal with where you been, what have you been doing, why, things, you know,
Your mother
as a
still
mother.
with the husband?
No, my mother passed away in 2011.
No. At this time, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, she's still with Mr. Leon.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I didn't know if that fighting had, stopped, or, she just couldn't take it anymore when you went off to Saginaw.
No, it wasn't. They didn't fight all the time. It was just sometimes.
Okay.
But when they did it, they did it. So I remember one particular incident. I don't know what started them on that path, but they got into a real, because they used to like to turn the music up so they could think they're going to drown it out and I wouldn't hear it. So they just going back and forth, back and forth. I was really trying to go to sleep, but the music is so loud I can't. So I stick my head out the door. They're going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So, I ran out there and got right in the mix. So, long story short, he beat both of us up.
Damn.
Police got called, and I didn't understand until I studied psychology years later that sometimes you always wonder, why does a battered woman stay in that kind of relationship? It's emotional trauma that's really paralyzing that's causing fear sometimes. But police get called, they'll break it up. He doesn't go to jail or anything, just, go spend the night somewhere. So he'll come back a day or two later, we'll move on. But now I'm antsy to be around somebody I know, because I'm not meeting anybody over here in this area, in the Westbury area. So I'm going back to Alief and getting into everything. We stealing, we're fighting, watching how drugs are sold,
Right.
getting a clue
Right.
on how do we get in this.
Right.
So my grades, I almost flunked the 10th grade.
Okay.
I just really did not put forth any effort to classes.
Okay.
And I stayed into it with somebody that whole year. The whole school year, it was just one conflict after another. One conflict after another. So towards the end of my 10th grade year, I told my mother, if you don't mind, I'd like to upgrade my clothes for the next year. I didn't want to wear the same thing from one school year to the next.
Are you on some was it Gucci?
Gucci.
Gucci.
Gucci's, Levi's, stuff like that for the time period. I didn't want anything fancy. I just didn't want to
Wear the same clothes.
wear the same clothes. But I always got hit with the guys of, we don't have money to throw away this, that, and the third. All right, but I see what's going on. I see
you
what
should be a little bigger too, aren't you?
Oh,
from 10th
I'm
grade
growing.
to 11th grade.
I'm growing.
Yeah.
But, she kept me dressed, but not to what I necessarily wanted to wear.
Right.
So I should have been more appreciative of that,
Of course.
but I wasn't.
Hindsight is 20.
And then I'm looking what everybody else wearing. I want some Jordache jeans, some Sergio Valente. Yeah, I want all that. I want a Kango. I want a little jewelry, little necklace.
All right. Come on, let's get to the crime.
So going into the 11th grade, some friends that I had, they called it, we're just going to go in here and take a few things out of the store. Nobody told me initially there was going to be a gun involved.
What kind of store?
This one was a Sonny's.
Okay.
Running Sonny's, gun comes out. So my reaction is like, wait, what's happening?
Right.
Just watch the door. What you mean, watch the door? What? I'm thinking we just gonna go in here and grab some stuff and go.
Okay.
They got the clerk held up at gunpoint.
Wow.
So they get the money, we dash. I wish it would have scared me more, because my life would have probably turned out different. But
That was too easy.
It was too easy.
Now, is that the summer going into the 11th grade?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So that was my first taste into strong-arm robbery. But that's not something I necessarily wanted to do to get money.
But you got an easy job, don't you? Dude, watch the door, dog. Watch the door.
But as you progress through the criminal lifestyle,
You got to do more.
there's roles assigned,
You
and
get
some roles
upgraded.
pay more.
You get upgraded.
Right. So the person on the gun is gonna get
The most.
a bigger
Money.
share.
Right.
The doorman or the driver, not necessarily,
Right.
if anything at all.
On the cut.
So 11th grade, I had a bad year in football. I wasn't focused at all. it was like a fog. It was just going through the motions.
Did your
again.
stepfather, the barber, I mean, I know he's PTSD and stuff, but did he ever try to shake some sense into you, like sit you down and say, come on, man, you know,
wanna fight.
act right, huh?
He'd want to fight.
Oh, he want to fight. He couldn't talk to you?
I wasn't listening. He tried, he tried to talk, but even though I never said it, hey, you're not my dad, I didn't receive it like I should have.
I see.
So, yeah, he gave me plenty of jewels. It was just going in one ear and out the other.
Gotcha.
Because now I'm getting a little more hardened by the day.
Okay.
And I'm riding to school with my mother.
I see.
So she dropped me off, and I'm...
You going one door and out the other?
No, I didn't skip school. I wasn't...
Oh, you didn't skip school? Okay.
One, because I knew they were going to call her, 'cause she's right there.
Right.
And two, that was just never my thing.
Okay.
If I'm going to be here, I'm going to be here.
Okay.
I just never saw the value in ditching school.
Okay.
So that's just me. So the summer going in from the 11th to the 12th grade, my mother got me a car, a 1981 Honda Civic.
How you earn a car?
And I was getting on her nerves.
I'm
I was
just
getting
saying.
on her nerves.
I don't know about
She felt like she felt like, we used to talk about this. She felt like if I gave you your own freedom, you might straighten up, because now when she did give me the car and something went wrong, she took the keys.
Okay.
And she didn't give them right back either. Now I was back to walking and metroing.
Okay.
So now I had a little incentive to do right. Unfortunately, the car made getting the money the wrong way a whole lot
Oh,
easier.
y'all got ways and means now.
Right. We got transportation.
Yeah, so we can.
So don't
we
tell
can
me
go-
you robbing in your own car, registered to your mama.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Go on, tell us some stories. Go on, tell
So-
us about it.
And what we did, apologies to the residents in some areas. I'm sorry. We used to go to different neighborhoods and just jump out on people.
Damn.
A lot of times we had a toy gun. It looked real, but it was a toy.
And what was
so-
your thinking on that? I'm glad it was a toy, but I'm just thinking, what were y'all thinking?
A lot of times we just couldn't get a gun, a real one. And fortunately, who knows how many lives were saved because of that.
Right, absolutely. But I'm just wondering, do teenagers ever think about, this could be my mother I'm jumping out on? This person is somebody's mother. Did y'all ever, and I'm not talking about your grown mind, Kyle. I'm talking about your 17-year-old, 16, 17-year-old mind. You ain't never thinking that. Nobody ever threw that in the mix.
No,
Are y'all getting high first before you do it, or you doing it stone cold sober?
I did everything sober.
Okay. Because, a lot of my clients used to tell me they'd be high or drunk or, do things. Look at Danny. Danny, you're holding your...
No, I'm just saying, you just get caught up, and to think morally with values and principles at a young age, it's just, I can't think what's not there. I can't know what I don't know. Yeah, my family are giving me values and principles that they are theirs. They're not mine. I see how they want me to live. I see how they're living, but that's not my life yet. It's not my belief system, like being raised in church. I honored everything I learned, everything I saw, but it was your system that you're forcing me to be a part of, and the discipline and the structure said I don't really have a choice. So I'm doing things by more force than, I like doing the right thing. I don't have an option. So when I get a chance to do my own thing, I was more moved to do the opposite of what I saw right people were doing, because it wasn't attractive. It wasn't profitable. You know what I'm saying? They weren't my friends. The people that were doing right, they're not my friends. The people are my friends. They're not gangsters, but their value system is, we're gonna get what we can by any means necessary to support our lifestyle. If it ain't nothing but buying McDonald's, we don't really want the money to buy a house or a car. We just want the money to support our lifestyle or how we living that our parents can't provide for us. We don't have jobs.
What was your thinking,
That's the best
Kyle?
explanation I've ever heard from that.
From anybody, okay.
I applaud that.
Well, it's because he knows. He's thought about it a lot. He's been thinking about it with me with years and his own thoughts. So So anyway, so tell me what get you landed in jail? Was it still in high school age, or had you gotten out of high school?
Okay, I'll give you a incident that happened. So I went through 12th grade, played football. I actually got some attention from some colleges. I was good enough to do that. The night we...
What was your position?
Wide receiver. The night we graduated, the night we graduated, there was a gang fight of epic proportions afterwards.
So you actually graduated, okay.
We
Then y'all graduated and then having a gang fight.
right. We graduated at Hofheinz. That's where our graduation was. After that, we get back to A-Leaf, and just all hell broke loose, and shots got fired at one of our friends. So now we're going
your friend,
on a
did he
mission.
die?
No, he got shot at. He didn't get hit. So it's just, there had been a lot of tension all this time. This was just the boiling point. So we hopped in the car. We went and got a 410, which is basically a shotgun. And we had a little 380. So we were riding around just really looking for anybody who fit the description that's part of this particular group. So we rolling. So we got on Cook. Does Will Crescent cook? Oh, yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. But I know they're in the same area.
No, right. We were on Cook Road.
That's over by Westwood Mall, in there, I guess.
A little further north and to the west, but you're in the general area. So we saw a dude walk in, and we knew who he was. So.
But y'all don't know he's the actual shooter, do you?
It didn't matter.
He's just a part of that gang.
They crunk right now. We done made up our mind.
Somebody.
We gotta leave. Somebody gotta be a victim.
Somebody gotta get it.
Somebody, we gotta make a statement.
So.
Oh my Lord.
I was driving. My friend in the passenger seat, he had the little gun. One of my partners in the back seat had the 410. So we spot him. I turned the lights off, go real slow. My homeboy hung out the window with the 410. It's only a one shot. So he pulled the trigger. I heard the boom, I hit the accelerator. So my other partner looked back, he said, I think we got him. By the grace of God, we come to find out he missed the shot.
Oh, amen.
And I knew the dude for a long time. So he literally just fell down and got up, and his life went on. So we used to hang out at a Whataburger. I can't think. On Bissonnette and Kirkwood, I think. I'm probably wrong. Excuse my quotes if my streets are wrong. But I know we were at a Whataburger. Whole bunch of kids. So we're in there just doing what teenagers do. Then a whole lot of police came. Okay, this is usually what happens when there's a big gathering of black kids anyway. So the police got their flashlights. They're looking in everybody's car. I'm really not paying attention. Like, catch us if you can. So after a while, I see a lot of them zoomed in on my car. I'm like, oh man. I thought they put the 410 all the way under the seat and put the floor mat over it. Mm-hmm. Kids, nobody's thinking the whole thing through. They left the butt of the gun hanging out partially. So they were looking.
Yeah.
So a couple officers come in, who's driving the car out here. At first, I was just sitting there. I know I can't get out of this. So they're like, all right, we're going to arrest everybody in here. Whose car? So I said, that's mine. Like, come outside. These are the days where it's crazy in the streets, especially dealing with the police. Mm-hmm. So before we even get there, the officer was like, hey, what's that in the back seat? I don't know. What's back there? Like, you're not going to tell me what's in the back seat? I don't know what's back there. What's wrong? Mm-hmm. Don't know anything about the law. You're like, well, you want to open it up for us? Yeah. I unlock the door. They go in there and get it. Yo, this is what you got in the back seat. All right.
Okay. I had somebody back there.
Well, I didn't do that. His next question was, what are we gonna do about this? I don't know. So now the gang intelligence pulled up. What saved me, he only brought half the gang file with him. The part that I was in, he didn't have with him, because this is pre, smartphones, computers, and things like that. So it's written down on paper. My name wasn't in his log, so they can't identify me as any kind of gang member. So they ran the plate, saw it was registered to my mother. So his next phrase was, and this really, a lot of things don't shake me, but he's like, you can go to jail, we can call your mother.
Take me to jail.
This man is sharp.
I said call my mama.
Oh, no, just take me to jail.
This man is sharp. I said, take me to jail.
Then your mama still gonna look for you.
I'll deal with that when I deal with it.
Your mother still gonna look for
What you think happened after that?
Your mama looked for you. What happened?
He called my mother.
Oh, okay, he did call your mother.
I didn't go to jail. He called my mother, told her what happened. Fortunately, this guy didn't get hit, so there is no crime being reported in the area.
Right. So the guy didn't call the police? Okay.
No, that was a no-no back then. You took care of your own business.
Right. So somebody else did.
Right. He talked, I don't know what my mother talked into this man, because now I'm trying to mentally prepare myself going to jail. He got off the phone with my mother and said, we're going to follow you home. I'm like, oh.
She said, I'm a school teacher, and that's my son. He just graduated.
I'm like, oh. And he said, don't do anything stupid. I'm like, just take me to jail. He's like, nah, I told you. Back then, they got real kind of snarky with you. I told your mama, we're going to send you home. Man, I went as slow as humanly possible. We're in A-Leaf, and I got to drive to West Airport. Now I'm going slow. They steady hitting the lights, like speed up. Man, that was terrible. But when I got home, they talked some junk to me. This, that, and the third. You can get killed, yada, yada, yada.
Give me them keys.
I got in the door, it was like a volcano erupted. I'm like, boom, oh man. What are you trying to do? You trying to get yourself killed? You could have killed somebody,
Yeah, oh yeah.
And, this is just a combination of things that happen because in a one-shot 410, it goes off one time. My partner was smart enough to take the shell out and throw it out. So it's an unloaded gun.
Well, that's good.
So.
But you still haven't taken us to prison, so get us there because we're running out of time.
Okay, so the next, this was in 1992. In 1994, I had met some guys that were into robbing banks. So now this.
Oh, upgraded.
Oh, yeah.
From Sonny's, the little corner grocery stores.
Sonny's, people, banks? I want in on this.
That's top shelf.
Oh, yeah. So once they explain how this works, get in the vault, get what you're going to get out. So we do this a few times.
A few times?
Oh, yeah. This wasn't a one and done.
Wow.
So couple of times, the money's good, but we don't know how to manage that kind of money.
Right.
So we tearing down Sharpstown in the Galleria. So we hit the lick, going to the mall, going to the club, going to get jewelry. We spent a lot of money at King's in South Park and the malls and the off-brand car dealerships, getting foreign cars. So October of 1994, my birthday's on the 25th. On the 27th, we had what in my mind was, this is my last go-around, because at this time the city was hot. We weren't the only ones robbing banks back then. There was a group in South Park doing it, a group in Fifth Ward doing it, and there was us. And there was a white guy doing it. And he was really making a killing. So.
Was the white guy with a gang, or was he by
himself? No, he was by himself. I can't remember his name because I did meet him in prison. He died in prison. but he had a nickname. But my stuff is public record.
Right.
So 2 days after I turned 20, we go to, at the time it was Nations Bank. So we go through the process, we case the bank, get the escape route ready. We're gonna do this. Because
Now remember, don't overshare. Think about what you're sharing.
no, it's done.
Okay.
Nobody. There's no one.
reminding you.
Are you on parole?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Nation Bank doesn't exist anymore.
Okay,
Yeah,
just
Nation
be
Bank is
mindful.
gone.
Just be mindful. That's all.
So
He's good.
appreciate that.
I'm gonna stop you. Don't worry. I'm not gonna let you do too much.
So
He did his time for it too, so and he had to say he did it. So
Yeah.
So the morning of, nothing went right. We overslept. We were supposed to be in traffic at like 6 o'clock in the morning.
Late to the bank robbery.
Woke up about
should have
7
known then to
something.
stop.
Right. So I had a thing back then. When I woke up, I wanted a grape Fanta and a cigarette.
Oh, you got a bank robbing ritual.
No, this is just
Morning ritual.
my morning ritual.
Oh, okay. I thought,
You know, some people
all
wake
right.
up with coffee and cigarette, coffee and donut, whatever.
Okay.
Mine was a grape soda and a cigarette. No soda, no cigarette.
So you know your morning's starting bad.
Starting bad.
No, you need to just go on back to sleep.
On the way there, hey man, we gotta stop. My co-defendant's like, what? Next store, pull over. So we pull over, I run in, get the cigarettes, get the drink, hop back in the car. Now I'm leaving out some things that led up to this,
Right.
but for the sake of
Okay.
time.
Okay.
So get in the car, remember on 610 across from Sharpstown Mall, no, 59. Oh man, traffic is crawling. And something in the back of my mind told me, don't go. Don't. Something was I kept hearing it. Don't go. It's not it. It's not it. And I should have listened to that, because we were so far off schedule that everything, it was just meant to happen. So we pull into the bank. You never in a bank robbery for more than a few minutes. So you don't really care who's in the parking lot, what's going on, because you're in, getting what you're gonna get and get out. So when we pull in, there was a gentleman in the vehicle next to us. So I looked him in the eye, he looked me in the eye while I was pulling the mask down.
Wow.
So I didn't care. We go in the bank. Now we had scanners, we had police scanners, so track their movements. The first part of the robbery was fine because they're trained to do what robbers tell them, for the sake of the customers.
Right.
So the tellers did what they were supposed to do. The other employees did what they were supposed to do. The only one who didn't do what they were supposed to do was an old lady.
Did she work there?
No, she was a customer. Come to find out, her husband was the one who I made eye contact with. So I tell everybody, lay down, keep your hands where I can see him, this, that, and third. So she's just like standing there, not quite shaking, but she's like, at first I was like, lady, lay down. She's like, I can't. This is on film. I'm like, what? I need you to lay down. She's like, I can't. I said, ma'am, I need you to please lay down. I got a gun on her now. I didn't know she went into shock right then and there.
Oh, she couldn't.
So
Couldn't move.
I said, ma'am, I'm gonna help you sit down in this chair over here. So I stupid as it sounds, gently got her over to a seated position. So right after that, I'm keeping the time too, until my co-defendant, hey, we got a minute left. So he's getting the money. Maybe 15 seconds to go, the scanner's just going crazy. Robbery in progress. But there was another bank across from Nations Bank. They said that location. So I'm like, this can't be happening. There cannot be another robbery going on at the same time. So I'm like, hey, we got to go. On the way out the door, they corrected it. Like, location, Nation Bank. Now we really got to go. Get outside, there's a crowd of people. So I looked to where we parked. The gentleman who I made eye contact with ran his vehicle into ours so hard the motor block got dislodged. Like, so I got mad. So I just waved the gun at the crowd. So now people scatter. I didn't have any intention on shooting anybody. So they scatter, really looking for it. We had another friend waiting for us. There was an apartment complex on the other side behind the fence. If none of this would have happened and something else would have gotten away of that, could have jumped the fence and got away. But now we got to put 2 and 2 together really, really fast. My co-defendant ran to the van and saw they was still running. He's like, we can go in here, we can go in here. All right. We hop in. So as we're pulling out at the red light, the police had to turn left. There were like 2 cars in front of him. I'm thinking, if they don't move, we gone. He's not gonna get us. The policeman's got the lights on, the horn, everything. The front driver really wasn't paying attention. So as I'm pulling out, I look back, I'm like, oh yeah, we got him. So something finally got that car's attention. It just zoomed across. So the police car got behind us. So when we got in the apartment complex, he was getting closer, but we're getting closer to the other vehicle, the getaway car. So when it was apparent that I couldn't shake him, I'm thinking, well, I don't want to get my partner caught, so I just zoomed mine. Here's the dumbest mistake I made. I told my co-defendant, hey, just let off a couple shots in the air to make him slow down, like shake him. I'm weaving out of traffic. By the time I get a chance to look over it, he's hanging out the window shooting at the police.
Oh, my Lord.
Like, oh, wow, all right. So it's on now. He's shooting at them, they're shooting at us.
It's ugly now. Ooh.
Yeah, it's
ugly.
It's survival of the fittest now.
Oh, my God.
So I'm in and out of traffic, So my little pop shotgun, somebody get up to the side, I'll shoot the hood or something. In and out of traffic. So we wind up on the Beltway. So they have a maneuver to where they'll try to get 2 cruisers on the side of you, 1 in the front, 1 in the back. I was having none of that. So when they couldn't get lined up right, they just kept shooting. It's a miracle I only got shot once, and he only got shot once. Because if you saw that van at the end of that, it's crazy. But working our way there, we only had 1 more chance to get away on Beltway 8.
So even though you got shot, you didn't stop driving?
I didn't get shot yet.
Oh, okay.
On the way to an intersection, there was a gas tanker. They had stopped the traffic, but it left just enough room for me to kind of do that. But before that happened, my co-defendant got shot. So at the end of it all, it hit him like in the shoulder, and the only thing saved his life, his rib cage stopped the bullet.
Wow.
But he was laying there like he was dead. So I'm yelling his name, driving, trying to watch out, shaking him. He's not moving. So I finally just, boom. So he like, I'm shot. I'm like, oh, man. So in the midst of me trying to get through this intersection around this tanker, now do I get out and run? Then I'm gonna have to deal with his people, or just keep doing what we're doing. So we go a little bit further, they finally shot a back wheel out. So we're just going slower and slower. I told him, I said, bro, we caught. He like, don't stop. I said, man, we're caught. Don't stop. So I just.
He shot hot and don't stop.
Yeah, don't stop. So.
Lord have mercy.
We really just doing a slow roll to the stop.
Y'all doing the OJ?
No, we wasn't going that fast.
Ain't going that fast.
We might have been doing 10 or 15. I had took my foot off the accelerator, so I just gonna let it stop on its own. But they're still shooting. So I'm driving
Ducky.
like this. So the van stops. So I sat there just like this. So they ran up, they got a gun in my face. It's almost comical. So the officer's like, get out of the car, get out of the car. So I'm just looking at him. So he's like, he's cussing now. You hear me? Get out of the car, get out of the car. I said, open the door. So he kind of like, what? I said, I'm not reaching for the door. You know, we got to figure something out. Open the door, and I'm going to fall out. So he was literally trying to figure out what to do in this situation. I say, listen, the gun I was handling is on the other side of me. See, there's nothing in my hands, but I'm not reaching. I'm staying in this position until we figure out how to get it. Y'all can drag me out. I'm not reaching for the door. I'm sorry. It's just not going to happen. Mm-hmm. So he's like, I'm going to open this door. You fall out, you make any sudden moves, I'm going to shoot you.
Okay.
Fine. He opened the door. I went in and fell out. So they went and yanked my co-defendant out. Now, mind you, he's shot in the arm and got a rib injury. So when they got me face down, I looked over under the van. They got boots all over him. He's hollering, he's screaming. Once they saw his arm was hurt, they twisting and he's really screaming. I'm thinking like, man. So I knew my time was coming very shortly.
He'll get you.
So one of them came, put my left arm behind my back, got a handcuff on me. But nobody ever grabbed my right arm. So I just literally laying like this with a handcuff on. So the way I was positioned, the sun was behind me. So I heard the man, I'm not gonna say his name, I heard him walk up.
The policeman?
Mm-hmm. And I looked back. He said, I'm gonna kill you. And shot.
Oh, he shot you?
I didn't know I was shot just then.
Damn. That's some cold stuff there. They got you on the ground and he shot you. Wow.
Right. So
was he HPD?
Yeah.
Or the Feds?
No, it's HPD. So I got shot in the jaw. It went through my jaw and out the front of my mouth.
He tried to kill you.
Yeah.
He tried to shoot you in the head.
Bad shot. Because in Texas, when you start with them, they can finish it any way they deem because there's justification.
Right.
But I didn't feel it shatter my jaw. I felt it, or my teeth. I felt it go through my tongue. So I thought I thought he was just scaring me. I thought I just bit my tongue really hard. So I had my forehead on the ground, but I'm looking at this big pool of blood just getting bigger and bigger. I'm like, thinking like, eh. So like I say, the pain isn't registering in my jaw, missing teeth or anything. It just feels like my tongue got ripped out.
Fake?
These are implants.
They pretty.
Thank you. So
I thought God just gave you them pretty teeth.
I had them.
They pretty.
So somebody came and finished handcuffing me, but now the way I was positioned, I can see the blood, but nobody's paying attention until it just started going out. And somebody's like, hey, he's bleeding.
They didn't hear him shoot you? Come on.
I think.
Whatever.
He's bleeding. But, you know, if it was a headshot, you know, head going everywhere from that range, that's basically from me to you. Mm-hmm. The caliber of weapon saved my life. If I was further away, my whole head would have came off. If he had a smaller caliber weapon, my whole head would have came off. It wasn't my time to go.
Wasn't your time.
So it's basically the projectile hit me instead of doing that. So.
Did it go through?
Yeah, like the X-ray, you know, look, I can laugh about it now. The X-ray, you remember those cartoons when they used to get shot in the mouth and they had that like black hole right there where the cannonball went through? That's what the X-ray looked like. But they rolled me over, which wasn't a good thing because now all this blood and bone ran into my lungs. So it gets better. We had a rough time on the way to the hospital and to the hospital.
They beating you up, punching you.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, that's
y'all not gonna believe this, but he's telling me we have 2 minutes.
Wow.
So Kyle, guess what? You gotta come back because
No
you gotta
problem.
finish this story because it's too good. Both of us were sitting there, Daddy, like this. Like, what's going to
I
happen next?
thought I was watching a Netflix movie.
I thought I was watching
On
a
Netflix.
documentary the way he was telling the story. So it's good. We haven't even got him to court, to jail, or to the penitentiary.
For
So-
23 and a half years.
Oh, wow. So in 1994, so you're 20 years old when this happens?
2 days after I turned 20.
Wow. Well, y'all, I just have to tell you, this got to be part one. Danny, what have you thought about this story so far?
How things could have turned out a lot worse. That even though the party told sounds,
Horrific.
but he's here to tell the story.
Amen.
And
to
so-
be on the ground, just think of how many men we've seen get killed by the police on
Wow.
body-worn cameras. And I know this is before the body-worn camera days, but just think of how much horrible that could have been. I mean, you are caught on the ground, and he just shoots you. Ain't no body-worn cameras, and you're shot in the face. I mean, basically trying to get shot in the head, he just missed.
And what's amazing,
What caliber do you think it was?
It was a 45.
Wow.
and I want to point out that you don't look like what
you've been through. Really, you don't look like what
You know what I'm saying? That's why it's important that we tell our real truths. So hopefully that years from now, when we long gone, this version of your story will maybe change someone else's direction
Right.
to
not have to tell that story.
Again.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, let me just say this. We can tell in 30 seconds to wrap up. We're going to do part two, and we're going to beg Kyle Mathews to come back and finish his story. This is a good story because we want to go from where this happens to prison to how you've changed your life. And I think it takes another hour to do that.
From ex-con to icon.
Ex-con
Yes, sir.
to icon, and this new phenomenon I'm learning about, which is permanent punishment. After you get out of prison, then the punishment you go through in society. That can be permanent, that I know all of us are trying to work to make it, once you do your time in society, that you get restored completely. So would you come back and tell us the rest of this story?
Definitely.
It was so good, I didn't want to stop you, but I didn't know it was going to be so dramatic. I didn't know, and I was looking at these pretty teeth all night, and I'm like, damn, he got some pretty teeth. They've been in the penitentiary all these years, and now I see, well, you got some good implants. Whoever did those implants, I want to know who did them, because I need me some.
You need a plug on.
I need the plug on those. But anyway, we've been told to wrap this up. Kyle Mathews has told us his story, part one of his story, and hopefully next week we can get him back to tell part two, to tell him how this ends when he's shot in the face on the ground by the police before body-worn cameras in 1994. Thank you for watching Truth and Justice with Vivian King, and I can't wait to tell you part two. Good night.
Good night.